Hello, happy Wednesday. Welcome on into Let's Bet It Hump Day action. Getting ready to bring you all of the latest bets and trends. Lauren Jbara here with Jared Smith, here to break it all down. We have a lot to talk about today, Jared. Want to know why? Because the Ryder Cup is right around the corner. I am so pumped. How you feeling today?
Yeah, Steve Elkington's coming on the show today. He's a former PGA champion. That's pretty cool. We're gonna get all his thoughts. And another thing about Steve is that he's an Aussie, so he brings that international flavor. Never played in the Ryder Cup because it's Europe against the U.S., but he's played in the President's Cup before. Very unique perspective about all things golf, playing for your country. He's going to be really excited. But before we start today, a little birdie whispered in my ear that you have this really cool thing that you used to do. I don't know if you still do it, but someone told me that you've actually sung the national anthem at a sporting event before. Speaking of the international flavor, I need to know why the musical vibes run so deep with you and what that was like to sing. Dude, I'd be worried about forgetting the words. That would be my concern.
Honestly, that was one of my biggest concerns. So I've done it 4 times.
Wow,
I sang in
3
times. Avalanche games. I know. 3 Avs games and 1 Nuggets game. And the first time I did it was January 2nd of 2020. And it was the Avs' first game of 2020. And I'm like, oh my God, this is going to be
the first game of the season?
Yeah, no, of the year, not the season.
Year. Okay,
okay. 2020. Yeah. So I was like, 2020 is going to be the year. This is awesome. We're kicking it off by singing the national anthem. I've never been so nervous in my life. They announced my name. I walked out on the ice, and I don't remember anything else that happened. I think I just went into like autopilot.
It's like the Will Ferrell when you blacked out there in the debate in old school.
Absolutely,
love that
absolutely.
Scene. Love that scene.
I'm just glad I didn't 1 fall on the ice and 2 like pass out because I was so nervous. And it gets a little bit easier every time, but honestly, I get so nervous to sing the national anthem. It's crazy. I'm like, I'm gonna forget the words this time, and I'm like, I don't know. I just. It gets really nerve-wracking, but I love doing it. It's awesome. But yeah,
a woman of many talents.
Takes like 3 days to build myself up for it. So don't ask me to sing it anytime soon, Jared. Thank you so much for bringing that up.
Okay. At some point we're gonna have to see, because I've seen it on Instagram. I've seen your guitar skills, your piano skills. Now you have the singing skills to go along with it. At some point, our audience is going to want to hear.
Yes. Maybe we'll bring it into Let's Bet It, just not this week. Okay.
Okay. Fair enough. We'll build the suspense.
Me.
Okay. That was pretty good.
Lots to get to today. Slate for the day. We got Back to the Futures, Marty McFly style, MLB, and college football. We have former PGA champion Steve Elkington. He's going to join us. Jared, I know you had a chance to catch up with him. And then we cannot end the show with our Pickswise play of the day. So without further ado, let's get into it. Let's get it. Let's bet it. MLB, Back to the Futures, Marty McFly style. I want to know, because right now Major League Baseball is pretty crazy. It's heating up towards the end. Do you have any futures that you're in on and that you're looking to maybe get in on now with only like a week and a half left in the season?
Yeah, we just posted this article on Tuesday. By the way, I love the branding of that we're doing for this stuff, the Back to the Futures. I think every week you can expect some kind of futures update from us, whether it's in baseball, whether it's in football, whether it's looking ahead to basketball and hockey. I take a lot of, I don't want to say pride, but we definitely look into the futures market a lot deeper than I think a lot of other places do, because it's a passion of mine. It's kind of like the buying and selling of stocks and, the finance. And I think there's a lot more value in the futures market than the average bettor really can see, because you have to lock up your money for a longer period of time, which is a little bit of a con. But the pros are you get the softest lines and the best lines. And what we did this week, so we've been in on Corbin Burnes to win the Cy Young forever. And I'll be honest, I finally waved the white flag this week, because Max Scherzer he's a madman. And Corbin Burnes has been fantastic down the stretch. Take nothing away from how good Corbin Burnes has been. His K9 numbers have been fantastic, but Max Scherzer has been unbelievable since come over from the Dodgers. How about this? 7-0 and 9 starts for Max Scherzer with an ERA under 1. So here's how we played it, a very unique way. This is how we played it. So we had a ticket on Corbin Burnes at 20-1. We had a half a unit on Burnes at 20-1. Scherzer now has become the odds-on favorite at -200. The two of them, that's it. The separation in the market between those top two guys and everyone else is very far. So I feel good in putting a pretty large 7 units worth of a hedge on Max Scherzer. And I won't get into the math, but if you look at our Pickswise.com futures article, you'll be able to see it in more detail. But basically what it means is we'll net out 3 units regardless. If Scherzer wins or if Burnes wins, we're going to take home 3 units from a half a unit original investment on Corbin Burnes way back in April. So that's how I'm playing the National League Cy Young. The American League MVP is also very interesting too. I think Vladimir Guerrero is right there on the heels of Shohei Ohtani, and you could still get him at 9, 8, 9-1, depending on where you do your shopping. So I think in Major League Baseball, there are 2 bets that I would make this week. I would, if you have Burnes exposure, I would definitely come in on Scherzer because I think he's winning the award. And I think Vladimir Guerrero's got a little buzz in the AL MVP market as well.
I love that. So you're hedging your bet right now. It feels good. It feels right.
Well, I'm locking in those profits. I feel like it's like I'm ringing the cash register because I know that it's either going to be Scherzer or Burnes, and we've got a nice fat ticket on Burnes. I was hoping we'd go the full Monty with Corbin, but I can't ignore what Max Scherzer has done with the Dodgers, and I think if they do play in the wild card game, it'll be Scherzer starting that game if they can line up their rotation accordingly. But they still might win the division because the Giants and the Dodgers are kind of trading blows right now.
Absolutely. I'm looking at the AL side of things because it's quite the race right now. 4.5 games separate 5 teams for the 2 wild card spots. You really can't rule any of them out. I'm personally not putting any money right now on futures bets, but I am so excited to see who gets those 2 wild card spots because, I mean, you look at the teams. The Red Sox on a 5-game winning streak of their own. The A's 2 games behind the Blue Jays for the 2nd wild card spot. I mean, it might be 1 game now that the Blue Jays won last night. And then the Yankees are a game out of the 2nd wild card spot as well. And they have the 2nd toughest schedule remaining. And the Red Sox have the easiest schedule remaining. So it's just really exciting to see down the stretch what's going to happen between those 5 teams. It's absolutely wild. Who do you think is going to lock in those 2 wild cards?
Well, you know how I feel about my Blue Jays.
We love the Blue Jays right now. I feel like we're riding them right now.
We are. I haven't checked their number yet this morning, but last I saw it was kind of hovering in the 20-1 range or so. And Alek Manoah pitched last night against the Rays, and he was phenomenal. They won that game against the Rays. That's the thing. So the Blue Jays are right now in the tough part of their schedule. They were 3 in Tampa against the Rays, who are still fighting. You know, they're going to clinch first place, but they haven't clinched first place in the American League East yet. So they're still kind of in that grind mode. So they took 2 out of 3 down there in Tampa. And that's the best team in baseball, right? Like, or at least one of the best teams in baseball record-wise this year. They're the best team in the American League. So I really think that is a positive for Toronto. They went down to Tampa. They didn't win the game that Robbie Ray pitched, which is even more, kind of enticing. Yeah, exactly. So I think Toronto still has a lot of juice, and I think their number is still pretty favorable. But I'll be honest, if you didn't get in at the 30-1 number that we kind of were, wrestling with, tugging on my heartstrings when we had that therapy session, it was either last week or 2 weeks ago. I would wait now because I do think you will get a similar number to them the night of or right before the wild card game. And that's how we played the Nationals back in 2019. We bet them the night before the wild card game because they won the wild card game, and that was like a sonic boost for their odds because then they got into the playoffs, and then you know what they did against the Dodgers, and they ended up winning the World Series, which was very favorable. So I would wait on the Blue Jays now because the numbers dip to a point where you're going to get a similar number, I think, a lot closer to the wild card game, and you'll have a little bit more information to go with.
Yeah, the Blue Jays are now 10-2 in their last 12 games, which is pretty impressive. All right, let's move on to college football. I know you have some college football futures you want to get into. Hit me with them. Hit me with your big bet.
I don't know how much you're a fan of Lane Kiffin and how much you've watched his games over the years. Obviously, he's had plenty of experience coaching at FAU. coaching with Nick Saban at Alabama. Now he's got his own shop at Ole Miss, and the Oxford boys are playing ball. Matt Corral, his number to win the Heisman Trophy over the last week has been sliced and diced like a hibachi restaurant. I would not play it at this number because it's gone from, it opened at 25-1, and we're only 4 weeks into the year. He's already the favorite. And I'm seeing 2-1 plus 250. We got it last week. I got a great tip from one of my baseball insiders who was like, you got to play this Matt Corral, Heisman, because the Ole Miss Rebels, they ain't messing around. So thank you very much to my anonymous baseball source for tipping me off to Matt Corral. I looked into it last week. I love the numbers. And Ole Miss is, again, they have it's basically like a video game offense that they run. And at this point, though, again, once the odds have moved to a certain point, you have to, kind of pause for concern a little bit. But I will say this. Ole Miss plays Bama in 2 weeks, October 2nd. If you haven't bet it yet at 2-1, I would wait because I think that Bama money line, Ole Miss money line against Bama is going to be longer than what Coral's odds are right now to win the Heisman. So you might get a better and that game's going to determine everything. If Ole Miss beats Bama, Matt Corral's going to be the Heisman Trophy winner this year, probably. So I think
there's a chance that they beat Bama.
I mean, you saw Florida did on Saturday, right? You said Florida did on Saturday, right?
I had a good feeling about Florida. I had a really good feeling.
You did, and you got that one right. But I think I think Ole Miss's offense makes Florida's offense look, So, and again, when Joe Burrow went in, I forget if that game was in Tuscaloosa or not 2 years ago when Burrow won the Heisman, but that was the game that all of a sudden pushed him to the odds-on favorite, not just the favorite, but the odds-on favorite. I think you're going to get a longer money line on Ole Miss right now, plus 210 for Matt Corral. I think you'll get 3-1 or 4-1 for Ole Miss on the money line in that game. Yeah. So I would bet the money line in Ole Miss in that game compared to the Heisman if you haven't bet it yet. But I think Corral's winning this award if Ole Miss can beat Bama.
I like that. If that's the big old if underline. All right, I'm taking a different approach to this. I'm looking at the national championship futures. I look at a team like Oklahoma, who this past week dropped from plus 750 to plus 1400. And I love this number. I do. And they beat Tulane in Western Carolina by a combined score of 116 to 35 in the first 2 weeks. They're 3-0 on the season right now. And I know they underwhelmed last week against Nebraska. And at the same time, I think that they're going to bounce back this week. They're the 22.5-point favorites right now this week heading into West Virginia. So we're going to see I think it's 16.5-point spread. I apologize for that, but against West Virginia. So I know the offense has been struggling a little bit, but they're really good at passing. They're really good at running the ball. I think that together that's going to be really, a force for them moving forward. People are down on Spencer Rattler right now. I think that he's going to prove the haters wrong. And maybe they didn't have their best performance last week, but you know what? You look at something like what the Packers did. They had a really bad performance against the Saints in week 1, and they came back and absolutely rolled in week 2. So I think that, one bad week doesn't necessarily define a team. And at the same time, you look at the number that you're getting Oklahoma at right now with the talent that they have on their team, plus 1,400. I like that. Cash my ticket.
I don't mind. Listen, Oklahoma and Lincoln Riley's been the best coach in the country in college football, I think, for considering what he's been able to do with Baker Mayfield and Kyler Murray, and to move those guys into top picks in their respective drafts. And he's been able to do it with different quarterbacks, get to the college football playoff almost every year. I've been really impressed with Lincoln. I do think he is one of the top 5 coaches in college football. And Spencer Rattler's got all the tools. I'll be honest. When it comes to winning the national title, I don't know if you're going to cash that ticket, but I think you got a chance to get them into the college football playoff. And then once you get there, then you've got a chance to be flexible with how you play the numbers from there. So I think that number will only go down as long as Oklahoma keeps winning. And I agree. When you make a futures bet, you want to buy low and you want to sell high. And that I think you're right. You are getting at a buy low spot because they've looked a little bit, I don't want to say down, but they haven't looked dominant over the first few weeks of the year.
I know there's been other teams. I mean, you look at a team like Ohio State that hasn't looked super dominant. You look at a team like the Miami Hurricanes, who people had really high expectations for, that haven't looked great. So I think it's kind of that feeling out process. These teams kind of trying to figure out what works for them. A lot of those teams lost some significant players in the draft. And so I think they're just kind of trying to figure out what works for them and gel. But you know what? Coming into week 4, I have a really good feeling about Oklahoma and down the stretch as well, the rest of the season. I'm getting them at plus 1,400. I feel good about that plus money bet.
Boomer
Jared.
Sooner. I'm going to call you Boomer Sooner.
Whoa.
They do the finger guns. That's their thing.
I know. Exactly.
They
That's why I did it.
Right? Yeah, there you go. That's your vibe right there.
All right. The Ryder Cup is this weekend. One of my favorite tournaments of the entire year. And Jared, you had a chance to catch up with former PGA champion Steve Elkington. Take it away.
Friend of mine and a friend to golf bettors everywhere, former PGA champion Steve Elkington. Steve, thanks for hopping on with us today.
Good morning, Jared. Mate, looking forward to this Ryder Cup. They called the one in Kiowa the War on the Shore. Mate, what are you calling this one in Michigan?
Beer and brats, right? You know, they're at Whistling Straits in the Midwest in Wisconsin. It's a Pete Dye design course. It's a bomber's course too, Steve. 7,800 yards. It's hosted 3 PGA championships in the past. And the most recent one in 2015, a fellow Aussie of yours, Jason Day, went 20 under. So this course is susceptible to giving up some scores. How do you expect it to play this week?
Whistling Straits, can change by the hour, being right there on the lake. But it's a very demanding course. I think there's going to be a lot of turnover in these matches, Jared. Turnover meaning that I think there's going to be a lot of fourth, won and lost holes because they've kept the rough low this week, which is going to make everybody go for it.
So right now, Team USA, minus 200 favorites. To me, that is pretty heavy because what that says, Steve, is that in 2 out of 3 scenarios, the bookmakers expect Team USA to win. In your mind, in your expert golf opinion, does that give us a little value on Team Europe, thinking that they've got some experience maybe that Team USA doesn't have?
Yeah, the bookmakers, as you know, are really wrong. Here's the way I see this event. The Americans are loaded with youth and putters. They average the 20th ranked putters right across the board, as Europe is like in the top 80. So they have advantage just on putting alone. Europe, on the other hand, has all the experience. They have been played in 10 Ryder Cups, Garcia, all of these guys. So I think both captains are going to play this very safe out of the gate. We're not going to see any rookies. It's going to be experience on experience. And I think, mate, after day one, the Americans should pull through just on putting alone.
Steve, that was the biggest takeaway for me when I was looking at some of the rosters last night. Harris English, Xander Schauffele, Scotty Scheffler, Morikawa, Berger, Cantlay. Those are guys that have never been in this kind of environment before. Now, Xander Schauffele just won the gold medal for Team USA, so he does have a little bit of that match play, playing for your country experience. But the rookies, do you think they're going to be, I don't want to call them afraid of the moment because these guys are faced with an amazing amount of pressure every week, but you've played in President's Cup formats before. It is a different vibe when you're with your team and you're playing for your country than it is when you're just out there on the course playing for yourself.
Yeah, there's no doubt. I mean, look, if I'm playing this tournament, I have played at Whistling Straits in the PGA. In fact, I was 48 years old. I almost won it the year, of course, that Dustin Johnson grounded his club on the last hole. I don't think distance is the key at Whistling Straits. I think you've got to stay at the bunkers. You just named a ton of players there that hit it straight. And the best way to play a match, mate, is put pressure on your opponent by hitting greens, hitting fairways, being good putters. Americans have that in spades. Now, when you think about Europe, I've already said this once already this week. You cannot match your intensity for this cup. If I was Steve Stricker, I wouldn't even try. I mean, we hear in football, you got to go out there and match their intensity. Mate, you can't do that. They bleed blue and gold. So there's a crafty little balance there that these captains are going to have to put in these players and see who's going to get the lead, because the lead in this event overall is going to be so important.
You mentioned Dustin Johnson. He's the elder statesman on Team USA, and he's only 37 years old. And that to me is unique when you get a guy like DJ, who we know what he did last year. He just ran through the FedEx Cup playoffs. How do you feel about a guy like Dustin Johnson kind of being that anchor for Team USA because he's the most experienced one on the roster?
I don't think he's going to fill that role. I think the anchor, I think there's an on-course captain of teams. Of course, Stricker is the American captain. I feel like Spieth is kind of the on-course captain. He putts so good. He's so emotional. He's quietly, he is the guy. He's sort of the young Tom Watson, Jack type player. On the other hand, you have guys like Poulter, who's the spirit of the European team. Two very different dynamics. European can get up so quick and stay up with their emotion. Mate, it's going to be very interesting. Dustin Johnson is a sit-back type player. Let his game do the talking. If he drives it good, of course, that's key in every match. Of course, USA has a little bit of a diva problem. We've got to get past that and get that team unified. So it's still very much a couple of days away, maybe. Still there's still questions that have to be answered.
The format too, Steve, is so fascinating. These guys play 5 matches in 3 days. The youth, I think, matters a little bit there because just the physicality, the mental strength, and then the physical toughness that you need to get through all of that golf.
Yeah, but, you run on emotion that week. You won't even feel it. If your team gets up, of course, playing foursome, playing one ball between 2 players is a very easy game. Again, I don't think we're going to see a lot of rookies from either team right out the gate. Both captains are going to play this like chess. They're going to put their most experienced players out the first matches, get guys that know what they're doing. Europe has a huge advantage when they put guys like Garcia, Westwood, Poulter. They know every environment. They've been around a big crowd that's been against them. Will they be able to hold the young guys, as you said, with the young hot players from the American team? It's going to be very easy. It's very hard to handicap this event, as you know, because you're playing one ball between 2 guys. How do they mismatch together? Will Bryson hit driver and go for the green while the other guy's got to play safe? Does he want to play safe? All this stuff weighs in, mate.
Oh, it's such a great tournament to cap. I'll give you one rookie that I think might actually play a little better than, the rookies, near him. I think Victor Hovland has the temperament to be really good in this event. I know you're a big fan. He hits it as straight as an arrow. And if I was going to put some money on one of the rookies to overperform their number, I would feel Victor Hovland might be that guy. What do you think?
Well, I tend to agree with you. Hovland is great when he's hitting it great. He can't chip the ball. So I would not, and Patrick Harrington knows this. He's not going to put Hovland out into a group. Hovland has to chip a lot because Hovland's about 190th ranked chipper in the world. So he'll have to be managed in the early going. He'll be a 4-ball guy and he'll be a singles guy. But this, of course, is nuances that, only us tour players, I suppose, can, get out of this environment, mate.
Yeah, Steve, Victor Hovland right now, minus 140 to be the top European rookie. And that's just in a group with Hovland, Wiesberger, and Lowry. And I think Hovland is going to be one of those guys that performs. Another rookie I want to bring to your attention, Xander Schauffele for the USA. He's plus 350 to be the top scoring USA rookie. And he just won the Olympic gold medal. We talk about grinders all the time, Steve. I know Justin Thomas is one of those guys. I think Xander Schauffele is in that category as well. What do you expect from the X-Man this week?
I like Schauffele a lot. I think Justin Thomas and Jordan Spieth will play together every match. They could be the linchpin. I know you asked me an individual question. I think Schauffele will also play 4 matches. Schauffele is going to be very hard to beat. Drives it straight. You know all about his game. You know everything that he does. I just like players that are going to keep it in play. I mean, you've noted that it's wide open this week, but it's not. I mean, there's 400 bunkers there. There's bunkers that you get in, or you're going to lose them. And that's the big problem that Bryson DeChambeau is going to have to decide if he goes to some of these greens and 1. Yeah, he could knock it on and make birdie, but he could also hit it in the bunker and lose the hole. So they've played the course a little bit, mate. This course is treacherous, and if these matches make it to 17 and 18, you're going to love it because those 2 holes are insane, and it's going to be the best team.
Oh, we can't wait. The Ryder Cup at Whistling Straits. this week. It starts Friday. Nobody better to break it down than a former PGA champion and a friend, of course, to golf bettors everywhere, Steve Elkington. Elk, thanks for your time, bud.
Oh, thank you, mate. Always.
That was so awesome, Jared. I love it. And I honestly have a Ryder Cup story too, because I went to the Ryder Cup. I can't remember exactly what year it was, but it was back when it was in Michigan at Oakland Hills.
Okay.
And I bought this hot pink Ryder Cup hat. And I was waiting at the end of it was the practice round day, because people are always more friendly after a practice round. And it was when they walk from the 18th green back into the clubhouse. And I was just holding out my hat, and I got a signature from Kenny Perry. And I had never been so excited. Do you remember Kenny Perry? Never been so excited in my entire life. And I got his signature, and I got Jim Furyk's signature. And then I rocked that thing the rest of the weekend proudly. I had like 2 massive signatures on either side. So
I hope you didn't sweat and make it like, I would worry about sweating through my hat, and it would like, cloud the signatures with like,
my gosh. I know the beautiful
waterproof
thing
markers.
Also, how sweaty are you? What?
Oh, I'm terrible. You don't want to be anywhere near me. But that being said, all this golf talk, we need to plan a Pickswise golf outing. That needs to happen. We can bet on each hole. It'll be fun.
I am
sanctioned betting, of course. Sanctioned betting.
Yeah, I'm so in for that. I need to take a few lessons before, so give me a fair warning of when it is so I can up my golf game. All right, time for the Pickswise play of the day. At the end of every show, we give our picks. Is there a 3-star Pickswise play of the day today, Jared? Tell me about it. Hit me with it.
There is. It's kind of funny because we were going back and forth about this game. I was really close to going on the other side of this as my play of the day, and I'm glad I changed my mind last minute. So Nick Galeta, shout out to the Pickswise capper that put this one out. He's going to go with the Dodgers run line tonight, laying about 35 cents. They're at Coors Field, taking on the Rockies. Walker Buehler pitches, and the reason that I didn't like this start for the Dodgers is because Buehler's numbers in September have not been good. He's been a little shaky over the last 3 starts. He's been good at Coors Field this year, sub-3 ERA, which is really surprising at Coors Field. But I think it's German Marquez who's been a little bit of a struggle for the Rockies this year, and I think that's why also the Dodgers won a very exciting game last night. And the line movement here, despite the fact that a lot of people are betting on the Rockies as a home dog, at least early stages of the day, we are seeing the line move in the favor of LA. So the stats kind of are neutral here. Good numbers for Buehler against, the Rockies at Coors Field, but bad numbers lately. Marquez, average numbers. But the line movement here is pretty telling for me. The fact that people are betting on the Rockies as the home dog, still pushing it towards LA. So we'll roll with it. Dodgers on the run line at Coors Field with Buehler on the mound tonight against the Rockies.
I like it. We'll also let all of you Pickswise Nation get in on this every single week. Vote on your favorite play. Follow Pickswise on Twitter to take part. You don't want to miss out. All right, Jared, you got your picks, or you got Pickswise play of the day. What's your play of the day?
So we didn't mention this off the top of the show, but I missed you so much yesterday. I decided to bet a juicy, double cheeseburger, juicy money line underdog, and it hit. Cardinals plus 190. They've won 10 games in a row now. I know, and obviously your spirit was still with us yesterday because St. Louis got home for us. We're going right back to the well again today with the Cardinals. Now we're not getting as good of a price. They're even money. That's because they're not facing Brandon Woodruff, who's a very good pitcher like they were yesterday. Today, much easier matchup against Brian Anderson. And they've got Miles Mikolas on the hill, does St. Louis, who went coming off of a really good outing against the Padres, 5 2/3 scoreless. He also hasn't faced the Brewers since 2019. So they're going to get some fresh looks at Mikolas tonight. We mentioned Brett Anderson. He's returning from an injury. He only pitched 2 innings in his last outing. That was like 3 or 4 weeks ago, and he's going to have a very short stint tonight. So I think it's going to be a bullpen day for Milwaukee. And again, St. Louis is fighting for that wild card, and you're getting it at an even money, price. I think that's very favorable. How can I fade the Cardinals? They've won 10 games in a row. They'll make it 11 tonight against the Brewers at Chase Field. No, not Chase Field. Where do the Brewers play? What's the beer field?
Yeah.
It's like a beer field or something, right?
It's not Coors Field because that's where the Rockies play.
Yeah. That's a beer
field. Budweiser?
No, it's I don't know. Maybe Jack can tell us at some point during your pick. Yeah, beers and brats for the Brewers tonight. They're going to be a little full. We're going with the Cardinals.
I absolutely love it. I know you can't bet. I know the Cardinals are really hot right now. It actually is so crazy. I am taking the approach. Toronto Blue Jays taking on the Tampa Bay Rays. Jared, I am jumping on your love of the Blue Jays. The Blue Jays are taking the run line at +160. They're 20-7 in their last 27 games, 10-2 in their last 12 games against a team with a winning record. And they won last night. They have a lot to play for, and I like the plus money bet here. So I'm taking the Blue Jays. I'm feeling good about it. I think they're going to get one of those last 2 wild card spots.
Love the Jays.
In the AL, cash it. I feel good about it. All right, that is it for us today. Follow us on the Pickswise YouTube channel. Go to pickswise.com. Follow us on Twitter for Jared Smith. I'm Lauren Jbara. Best of luck tonight. We'll see you tomorrow, Thursday Night Football. Let's get it. Let's bet it.